Detroit Den 313, Detroit Lions fans. It is Tuesday, February 13th. That means you got about 24 hours to go out and get your girl something nice for Valentine's Day. While you're listening to some Detroit Lions football, I'll allow you to do a little Amazon shopping in the background. I don't know if you guys could tell by the tone of my voice or Will's little smirk he's got on his face, but we are excited to do this episode. We've done some draft talk episodes before. We've talked about some first rounders. Guys, it's time to get into the nitty gritty. It's time to really start diving in and doing some research. I told Will yesterday, after we did our shows yesterday, I had surgery last week, which means yesterday my wife went back to work. She was on FML to take care of me, look after me, help me out. So yesterday I had a day to just watch some football all day, nothing but football. I'm diving in. I'm doing some mock drafts. I'm looking at some names. I'm taking some notes. We found two absolute, if you look at Will's face. We found two absolute junkyard dogs. Will, I'm not going to steal your thunder on this guy you've led me on to. I just watched his highlight tape, took a couple notes, introduced the people to someone who needs to be in serious consideration at pick 29 for the Detroit Lions.
Number one, we got a little excited.
I can't sit still. I'm so excited.
Please subscribe to our channel. Now that that's out the way. I want to first defend ourselves in this, and especially myself, because I'm so high on JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson. The fact of the matter is, while I love Jackson Powers Johnson, at worst case scenario, to me, the Philadelphia Eagles, who are ahead of us, are going to draft him. They're not going to draft Graham Barton. Like, they're probably going to draft Jackson Powers Johnson. So that is what it is.
Jason Kelsey, if he really retires.
Yeah, so that just is what it is. And even if Kelsey doesn't retire, he'll probably retire next season. He can't keep doing this dance of maybe I'm going, maybe I'm not. So they're most likely going to draft a center. Right? So that being said, you guys know that it is someone that I loved early. But we've talked about Brad Holmes, we've talked about drafting the best player available, and I think that this gives us the opportunity. I know it's not going to be popular. I know it's unorthodox. I haven't seen one mock draft of anyone saying that we're going to draft this guy, but Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M at pick 29, the best linebacker in this draft. And I know what you're probably thinking. We don't need it. Yeah. Well, yeah, that too. That too. But on top of that, we don't need a linebacker. That's probably what you're saying right now. We don't need a linebacker. Why would we take that guy? Whatever. Number one, best player available. You get down to the bottom half of this draft, the edge rushers, the quarterbacks, all the sexy picks, those are gone, right? Those are gone. The left tackles, those are gone. Now you're either trying to get somebody that is scheme specific or it just fits your team, or you're drafting the best player available. I'm a strong believer in you draft the best player available in the first round. That's just me, right? And then second, third rounds, then you get into trying to get somebody that fits your scheme. Steve, you said it. I can't even sit still either. This dude is a dog. In the world where you got to run down guys like Lamar Jackson, in a world where you struggle to tackle guys in the open field like Brock Purdy, problems are solved.
Yeah. I told you as we were sitting here talking before we hit the record button, I was watching the highlight tape and I paused it and I said, you know what I really like about this Cooper kid? I'm watching a lot of his highlights, and you know how I feel about highlights. Everyone looks good on a highlight, but I trust that you've done your research more than me when it comes to actual game film. What I liked on most of his sacks and his highlights, and I'm going to tag his highlight video in the description so you guys can go and watch this for yourselves. And if you don't believe, I don't know, just give this kid a look is all we're asking. After you subscribe, go check these kids out that we're talking about today, because we've been excited about first round picks, and I don't know if Edgerrin Cooper is a first round pick. But if there's a scenario where we trade back and we have another early second round pick and he's still hanging around, I can't get to the podium fast enough. If Amon-Ra St. Brown is the guest picker for our second round pick, I better see his 40 time at about a 4.1. He better get to that podium fast. But what I like about watching this kid's highlight, and I told you, he's spying these mobile quarterbacks and he's sacks. He's watching Jalen Milroe. He's watching a Jaden Daniels, who's a top 5 pick. Jalen Milroe's if you're not familiar with him, he's a mobile quarterback from Alabama. If you're a Michigan fan, you know a little bit about him, but very mobile. He's spying them. He's getting them to bootleg outside, and he's just closing the gap, and he's there. You're not going anywhere. 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's a sack. Now, what the Detroit Lions need to prepare for, and what the mindset I'm trying to get in is, I believe that there's a little chess match with your teams in your division. So we have to pay attention to what the Bears are doing. We have to pay attention to what the Vikings are doing. We have to pay attention to what the Packers are doing. 2 out of the 3 teams in our conferences have somewhat of mobile quarterbacks in Jordan Love and Justin Fields / Caleb Williams, whatever the Bears decide to do. Kirk Cousins, we don't know his future. But what kills Detroit Lions? It's been mobile quarterbacks. You need someone you can put in there and spy. Love Alex Anzalone. He doesn't have the speed. Love Jack Campbell. He doesn't have the speed. What I've seen in a very, very brief glimpse from Edgerrin, I keep wanting to say Edgerrin James, Edgerrin Cooper, is speed.
Yeah.
Sacks that aren't even designed blitzes, and he's getting there within a second, closing the gap and being a problem.
Yeah, man. He's a guy who plays in the backfield, bottom line. Lots of tackles for loss, lots of rundowns on screen plays, lots of spying the quarterback, lots of great tackles in the open field. And I think that he's only going to get better. He's got the type of frame, and he's already about, be anywhere between 230 and 240. But he's got a frame to where he could even get bigger, and still be able to run. I'm interested to see what he looks like after going to a combine prep and getting faster and stronger and body more prepared to the Pajama Olympics, right? But I'm not waiting to the second round. This is one of those situations where we go get your man, at pick 29. I'm rushing to the podium at 29. I'm going to get him because he instantly makes our defense better. He instantly helps us with those mobile quarterbacks. If who knows what Minnesota might do, they might trade up into the draft. I've seen them mocked getting Penix. I've seen them mocked getting JJ McCarthy. Both of those guys can move around. They're not just going to be like Kirk Cousins, an easy target,
Statue.
back there. Yeah, statue back there. So we could be living in a world to where all of these quarterbacks, besides Jared Goff, in our conference are mobile, and we got to run these guys down. It's a situation that's given us problems, and this would be a huge step in the proper direction in fixing that.
Pick 29. You locking him in right now? Needs to happen, or are we still kind of tinkering around?
I'm lightly tinkering around, but I can't even see a world to where it would have to be somebody that is going to just blow my mind at edge rusher would be the only way that I could see. Because even if you're telling me a world where Nate Wiggins is there, who I'm high on, I'm going to draft Edgerrin Cooper because Nate Wiggins isn't going to, he's not going to help me spy a quarterback. He's not going to help me with the things that's breaking. And this is where the league is trending to. All quarterbacks being able to be somewhat mobile. I'm not saying that everybody is a dynamic runner of the football, but to me, the baseline probably 10 years from now is going to be Brock Purdy. Like, you're not going to see a lot of guys that are just standing in the pocket, not mobile.
Even like Patrick Mahomes, he's not considered a mobile quarterback, but he can go out and rush for 60 yards a game like he did in the Super Bowl. That's no problem. He's not Michael Vick. He's not going to ever run for 1,000 in a season, but he can go out and get you, hey, I need 15 yards on 3rd and 15. I'll go get you 25.
Yeah.
Like, he made plays in the fourth quarter and overtime where the 49ers were just gassed, couldn't contain them, lost a little discipline. So Edgerrin Cooper could be that guy that comes in, spies quarterbacks, or you can send him on a design blitz. But guys, I'm telling you, we don't get excited here much. If we do, it's because we're talking football.
Yeah.
I will post this kid's highlight film after you guys watch this episode. We have 2 guys we're talking about. I'm going to post both of them in the description. Tell your boss you got to go on a bathroom break. Pretend to be sick. Go to your car.
Turn the volume down at your cubicle.
Yeah. Put your earpods in. It'll be worth it. I promise you that. That's all I'm saying. And I've not said that about a prospect yet this season. So it will be worth the wait. But yeah, like I said, I'm not 100% first round pick sure about that, but I've seen some scenarios where teams move up late into the first round of the draft, and we get an earlier second round pick. I would be okay if we move to, I'm just throwing out a number, pick 35, and we can snag them there. I mean, if you really want the 5th-year option on them for a linebacker, it doesn't happen too often. Usually teams want that 5th-year option on a quarterback or someone like that. But
Steve,
yeah.
You're giving them too much of the sauce.
Yeah, I'll hit the brakes.
Yeah, because that's part of the thing too. That's part of the thing. Maybe he's there at pick 34, 35, 36, and somebody wants to move up in this draft and go get Michael Penix. Somebody wants to move up in this draft and go get JJ McCarthy. There's so many quarterbacks on the back end of this draft. Somebody might want to move up and go get Bo Nix. You know what I'm saying? And jump in front
Guys,
of
forget
else.
everything I just said. We're taking him at pick 29.
Yeah.
So, Edgerrin Cooper, guy, keep your eye on him. Again, possible. Very, very possible. Very, very nice fit for the Detroit Lions. But we got another guy, too.
Yes, sir.
Who might be more mean, more violent, more angry. Well, I can't say his name. You're gonna have to Ruke.
Ruke? Yeah, I got you.
Orhorhoro.
No.
I'll let you do it,
man. So number one, guys who love to call us Michigan slappies. This is a Michigan man, but by Michigan man, we don't mean a Michigan Wolverine. He lived in Michigan, originally from Nigeria. Ruke Orhorhoro.
Right? Yeah, that's what I said.
Out of Clemson. Steve, talk about him.
So before we came on here, you said you'll never guess. You give me some little breadcrumbs. You said Michigan man. I guessed a couple of Michigan players, and I was like, all right, you're clearly not talking about a Wolverine or a Spartan because that's not a Spartan term. So I'm thinking, all right, it's a kid who's from Michigan. You said you'll never guess him. Took me a little bit. Couldn't say his name. And as soon as you said Ruke, I hit pause and I showed you my phone. He was number 1 on my list.
Yeah.
What I watched, so like I said yesterday, wife went back to work. I had all day to watch football. I was watching some mock drafts. I'm not watching first-round mock drafts. I'm watching sleepers. I'm watching guys who we can be looking out for day 2 and 3. We've talked about a lot of first-round guys that'll probably be for the Detroit Lions. We'll probably talk some more, but we're just excited for these sleepers, these gems. I'm just going to call him Rookie because I can't say his last name, and I probably never will, which is going to be a problem if he's a Detroit Lion.
I was about to say, if he's a Lion, you better learn.
And I told you, from Nigeria, hasn't been playing football long. And I told you he kind of reminds me, his story anyway, reminds me of when the Detroit Lions drafted Ezekiel/Ziggy Ansah out of BYU. Mm-hmm. Raw, very, very raw, athletic. His athleticism's off the charts. Teach him some technique. He's already got some very natural technique. But he kind of reminds me of Ziggy Ansah, who was very, very good for the Lions when he was healthy. Yeah. So I'll let you talk a little bit about him, and we're going to get into it.
So listen, to me, the picks feed right into each other because he is just an super athletic kid with a whole lot of upside. He's a kid that should probably be there in the second round. I don't know how long in the second round because he's one of those guys that has the traits, even though he's raw. So somebody could easily jump up in the second round and grab him early. And people might say, just like they did with the Detroit Lions, they may say, oh, that's a reach, blah, 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 blah. But when you see his frame and his twitchiness and his athleticism, you'll understand why. So this is another one. We'll definitely link some of his highlights down so you guys can check him out. But he's 6'4", 290 pounds. He can play interior. He's mainly an interior D lineman, but he can also bump out to the outside and play the edge. He's not like a Pascal. He's not like a John Kaminsky. He's a guy that can threaten with a pass rush. He's a guy that can run down screen plays. He's a guy that can run down quarterbacks. I think he's just only going to get better throughout this NFL development process. And I think that moving our team in this direction, athletic guys who can run, instantly solves a problem that we have, just like I mentioned with Edgerrin Cooper, of running down these quarterbacks, running down the RPO game, putting guys in a bind to where whatever decision they make is wrong when we're running these RPOs, and now you got to try to run plays down, putting guys in conflict. When I put them at that mesh point, and they got to decide, do I take the quarterback or do I take the running back? And a lot of times when these D linemen are at the edge, or sometimes they will even option the defensive tackles. We won't block the defensive tackles and we'll let those guys go free, and they got to try to play both guys. We need strong athletic guys to be able to do that, tall, who can get their hands up and bat down passes in the RPO game. This solves a lot of problems.
You've been to a lot of Lions games this past year, right, William?
I have.
There's a saying when they play the intro music for everyone who's getting ready to come out. Dan Campbell comes across the soundboard, the screen, whatever you want to call it, and he just says, opening line, grit when you see it. What I watched this kid do to some offensive linemen would have you in front of a judge on Monday morning if you weren't in football bats.
They're not wrong. I told you, it reminds me of what we were talking about last year, who I was super high on was Keanu Benton, that the Pittsburgh Steelers stole from us. Absolutely thieves. But anyways, he just got violent hands, man. He's got violent hands. And you can tell that he don't even really truly understand why his hands are so violent yet. It's not something that he just, in certain moments he does look raw, but there's those other moments where he just looks majestic.
I'm telling you right now, if we can get, I think I'm with you. And I usually like to try to find a way to disagree with you. I try to find a loophole where I can say, Will's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Kind of like our AR-15, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud debates last season.
No joke.
But I can't disagree with you on this one. I think we need one of these two players that we're talking about today.
That's
where that is, round 2, round 1, I'm good with it. I think I'm okay with it. Is it my first choice? I'm not ready to do a mock draft yet. I'm not ready to put out my official mock, but I think here's what I think. If you're not a diehard fan, wow, and the Detroit Lions get up there, and you're in Detroit on April 25th, and the pick is in for the Detroit Lions, and you hear the name Edgerrin Cooper, I think you're going to hear some boos, but I think you're going to hear one or two loud eruptions in the back from Steve and Will, who are ecstatic.
Losing.
And we're just saying, guys, do your due diligence. Look this player up. We've told you about him. People will boo because they don't know who he is, because he's not on Mel and Todd's mock drafts. And when we've seen what Brad Holmes thinks about that, everyone, there was a certain, Woodward Sports Network who called the Jahmyr Gibbs pick a quote unquote reach. There was guys walking off of their set after they picked him. Yeah. Not Stephen Will. We were ecstatic. Guys that we are talking about, we might have said, all right, Jahmyr Gibbs probably in round 2, but we'll take him in round 1. Brad Holmes doesn't care. Yeah. If he goes out and he watches Ruke and Edgerrin Cooper and he likes them, they will be the pick at pick 29. Yeah. We just have to trust Brad Holmes. No booing. Yeah. No, what are we doing? No reach. No giving a draft grade of a D-. Brad Holmes hits on drafts. Yeah. Is this a guy you think could be potentially on his radar?
I think
Edgerrin Cooper or Ruke.
So I think they both are definitely, there's no way that they're not on his radar. And I think they're both guys who, this is definitely a show where this could reasonably happen. We could reasonably have Orhorhoro there at pick 61, and we could definitely have Edgerrin Cooper there at pick 29. That this isn't a reach at all. It's a matter of if the Detroit Lions value those two picks enough to make the selections right there. And when we get into our mock drafts and we get into some things that might happen, maybe you see us talk about us trading back. And guys, if you watch the show, us trading back is an absolute nightmare for me, because I talk about it all the time. Steve and I are going to be at the draft. We're going to trade back into the second round, and nobody is going to walk across the stage for the Lions in the first round. And we're going to be down there.
It's kind of suck, but we understand the long-term goal of the NFL season. Yep. You can still have a good time at the draft, even if your team isn't making a selection, but it will hurt, because that's probably not going to happen till late. We're talking like 11:45. We've sat there for probably 7 hours bullshitting, having some drinks, and then the Detroit Lions announced that they've traded back, and we're not going to get to see it. But it might just mean I have to stick around for day 2. That's all that really means to me. Mm-hmm. So, guys, we've talked about 2 guys today that are really, really solid players that could really, really come in and help the Detroit Lions. You've talked about them here. Check out their highlight tape. Leave a comment down below. We're going to dig in. We're going to find some more hidden gems. Leave it in the comments if there's someone you want us to look up. We'll do our research. We'll check them out. Hit that like button. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. It is draft season, free agency season. We're going to be covering it all heavily. We'll be back later with some more content.
Peace.